Welcome to another Straight Up Tuesday tip. I'm your host, Mark Ainley. With me, as always, is Tom Shallcross.
It's tougher than it looks, isn't it?
It is. Well, mixing up the Tuesday tip, the straight up,
for our listeners, that took a few takes. I'm throwing you under the bus right now.
Yeah, a couple times I didn't take a couple deep enough breaths to really belt it all out, but yeah.
All right, so it's a competitive market. We've had a lot of people saying like, "Oh my God, I can't get these deals done. I can't get them across the finish line," myself included. Let's talk a little about today of just things you can do when you can't move on price anymore. What are some of the other levers that we can pull? And I'll start this off by saying it's very contextual, right? There's, if you're on the MLS and they're calling for best and final, there's not much you can do, right? You're going to throw your best foot forward, and like, you're not in a situation when you're having that direct conversation. This is more when like, it might just be you and one other bid. You're direct, but they also have other options. This is probably not relevant when there's 14 offers on there. So don't take this with a grain of salt.
Conditions could be, obviously the dollar amount, that's a crapshoot when you have highest and best, but you could still come with some of the things we will talk about. But
yeah. All right. So I'll let you start. What are some of the things that, when you're putting an offer together and you can't move on price, like what are some of the other things that you do?
Close date is always the first go. Like I could literally close this next week. And now the cool thing about that is most of the time the attorneys can't close it next week. So even if you're like, I can close
title,
in
zoning cert, water cert.
Yeah, I can close in 7 days, but at best you might be at 16 or 18 days. So on paper you look very sexy, practical. If the seller or the seller's agent knows the system, it's less relevant. But to your everyday residential real estate agent doesn't realize you probably can't. They're going to bring that information to the seller and say, dude, they'll close next week, and the seller is going to light up. So I think that's one of the first my first go-tos.
Yeah, I guess let's take it a step back. I think one of the things I like to say is if I can have the conversation with the broker or with the seller is, I always say, hey, listen, my partner's the money guy. He won't let me go up another dollar, right? So you're like pushing off blame somewhere else. Like I can't go up another dollar. What else can I do, right? Like what else would make you or your seller want to jump on this deal, right? Because they might just tell you right there, it might be the opposite. They might need a lease back, right? So I think you always ask that question and try to gather the information. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, it's price, it's, whatever. But yes, I think speed. I think the opposite of speed as well. Like, again, we've done a lot of lease backs with some of these, like either estates or she's moving in and they're worried about it. Like, oh, cool. We'll close. You can have your money in 14 days and you can stay here for 90, right? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's something you can do. Like a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of brokers don't even bring that up to their seller. They're just thinking like, oh yeah, we'll get it sold, and you got to move, figure it out.
Yeah, I like the leaseback option. I've done that a couple times in the last couple of years, and I think it's less risky for you as the buyer when it's the seller that's living there. If there's tenants living there, obviously there's a lot more risk. There's a lot more risk with that. I'm a little less. I'd rather like wait to close to get those tenants out. I'd rather pay $5,000 more or whatever it might be to get those tenants out.
Correct. So like, with the seller, if they need this happens a lot, right? Like if you have, older couple been there forever and now they're going to get their condo, they might have $1 million in equity. They want that so they can go buy their $400,000 condo, right? So now you've just created the situation where, hey, we'll close, you'll have your money, and then we'll lease it back to you for 90 days, whatever. And there's a lot of ways you can protect yourself. You can have holdbacks. You can, you draw up like a whole lease. Like you can do it correctly and protect yourself, which is a whole nother episode.
Flipping on the people that are trying to be in and out of the projects 90 days, that ends up being sometimes an issue is timing of the year, right? You do a huge project. So, no matter what, you might land a year later.
Yeah, it is
you
what it
can't
is.
Predict it. It is what it is. But for right now, think about right now, this time of year. Actually, right now, we're filming this in October. So if you had to wait 90 more days, it actually might even benefit you.
Yeah, depending on how big the rehab
the
is.
Spring market. So. But 60 days ago, it would have screwed you putting it on the market right around November.
Yeah. Well, if you're getting plans and permits in the city, you kind of have 90 days to do nothing.
Yeah.
You're kind of sitting there and like it's literally no skin off your back, except that if you have an acquisition line or a loan, like that clock will start.
And that's super advantageous because usually when you do a sale leaseback, you're at least getting rent then too. So you're at least covering your costs.
Portion,
you might not get market rent, but at least you're covering some of your juice, some of your taxes, insurance, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I added in your speed. For me, like someone who does massive rehabs, this is kind of a little niche, but like I've signed affidavits that I won't tear the house down. Like if you're going up against people who are going to tear the house down, like that's one where I've come in and say, I've never torn down a house. I'm not going to tear down your house. It's going to be standing. It's going to look completely different, but it's going to be here. And that has resonated with people before. as is a pretty easy one. Let's talk a little about inspections, because now on the 8.0 contract, you have 3 different options for inspections. You have the, waiving it completely, right? So I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do this, but if you feel confident, you've walked it yourself or you've walked it with your contractor and you feel good, you can waive inspection. You can do inspection with no right to ask for repairs. So like, hey, I'm going to get an inspection. If there's anything wrong, like, it's binary. The deal either happens or it doesn't. I'm not going to ask you for any credits. So, my number is the number. And you have the inspections with the right to ask for repairs. Obviously, you get in a competitive situation, go up the ladder to, your offer gets a lot more attractive to them.
I usually like the middle option. Usually the only time I waive the inspection altogether is if like the seller just isn't being flexible and it's too good of a deal and it's just not worth blowing up the deal. But I guess my question for you is, when you waive the inspection 100%, you go and you got rehab, obviously your partner is construction, like, so you have a lot more leverage similar to as I do. But my question to you is, what are your concerns when you waive it fully? Like what could still go majorly wrong that you might be nervous about?
I think missing like zoning things, and we talked about that in the last Tuesday tip. Like, oh crap, I can't build up here because it's R2 or whatever. Like, or oh my god, I got to dig out the basement 2 feet so it doesn't count against my FAR. So I think missing zoning would probably be the biggest ones. And if we're not doing a full gut, that's when it get a little scary, because it's like, all right, I think the rehab's gonna be 200, and it actually ends up being 3. Like, if you're gutting the place, you kind of know the number. Like, yes, it's gonna fluctuate, but you have a good idea. Like, all right, like, there's not much here that's gonna scare me.
When you waive inspection, most of the time you're waiving radon as well too. Do you ever get nervous about that?
No, I always just waive it.
It's a pretty easy fix. It's a relative, like, it's a $3,000 problem, I guess. What about sewer? Like, you ever get nervous about that stuff?
No, and we've gotten to a point too now where I'm not saying people should do this. If you're going to buy a building, you should scope the sewer line. It's going to be a major expense. But the way we look at it is like, we just put that on the person buying the house from us a year later. Because even if I scope it and it's like, it might be a little like it could change in a year. Like, I'm not going to go spend 20 grand on it or whatever it is, and then something else might happen over that year timeline. So I just wait till the end and know, like, all right, like, we might have to take care of this, we might not, but like, we just, it's the cost of doing business for us.
That's happened to me where we've scoped the sewer, went and did a year-long project, and then scoped the sewer originally, had no problems, clear, straight through the street. A year later, you go to sell it, and you actually have problems then.
Yeah.
And vacant properties are a lot more prone to issues coming back from the street, from the city, or overflowing and pushing in and causing a ruckus in your pipes, versus where there's constant water flowing out with people living there.
That's it. Like, a lot of these, like, we buy out a demo court, and like, there's not even, like, water hasn't been on for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's, whatever. Like, just let it. It's one of those things I deal with after the fact.
What about earnest money?
Yeah, I was going to ask. So earnest money Illinois is very buyer friendly and very forgivable. I put a silly amount of earnest money.
Silly. I agree.
Yes. Like, and some people are very like, oh my God, like, some brokers are like, wow, this guy means business. And some are like, yeah, well, we know it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to the strength of the seller or the seller's broker, which I feel half the time you're dealing with an amateur, and they don't realize that they go and think that's a selling point to the seller, and it benefits you.
Correct. So for our listeners out there, like, you go under contract, you have your attorney review period, which is from the 8.0 contract. It's 5 days. Usually it gets extended because you got to get if you're doing an inspection or whatnot, it stays open until everything's completed there. But in that time period, you basically you write your attorney review letter. You can back out for pretty much any reason. It's very silly, and it's very frustrating from a seller's side. Don't be that guy. Don't intentionally just lock up a property and do that. But if anything does come up, that earnest money is still protected there.
What about going hard?
So
explain that, I guess, real fast.
So going hard would be like, hey, the earnest money is not refundable from day one. Like, no matter what happens, I'm putting this 20 grand, this 50 grand, whatever it is, on the line. Obviously things can change, right? Like, if you have a hard money line, they could back out on you. If you're doing private money with a buddy and that person backs out on you, something in your personal life could happen, right? Like, you can get sick, your kid could get sick. Like, even if you're 1,000% confident on the deal, there's still risk there. Again, a one-off project, it's like very risky. When you're running in the perspective of this is a business, it's almost like the cost of doing business, I feel. So again, I'm not advocating for it and saying like, yeah, everyone should just do hard earnest money. But like, if you believe in the deal and you want it and you know it, like, I personally, I have no problem going hard on the earnest money. I'm not saying that that's like a strategy that everyone should take on.
I obviously feel far more comfortable going hard on 2,500 if I know that we'll get it done versus 25,000. So
Correct.
I've probably never gone hard on anything more than $5,000. But there's the other element of hard too, where it's like if it's a longer closing, where you'll put up hard money after a certain point, or your earnest money will turn hard after a certain
attorney
point.
review or whatever.
And sometimes that happens where I need to ask for an extension. Maybe my financing is moving slower, or maybe I dropped the ball on getting something to my financing. It's like, I know I'm going to close on this. I know I'll be able to, but they could technically, because my mortgage contingency is done, they could technically cancel on me, but I'll say, you know what, I'll make my earnest money hard. Just give me the 2 more weeks. And that's where I've used that on the back end of the deal.
Yep. And another one too is like, let's talk financing. So obviously like cash is king, right? If you can do cash, you can find private investors, whatever that may be. If you're not in that situation and you've used the lender 2 or 3, 4 times, whatever it may be, and speed is not a priority for the seller, they're fine closing in 45 days. Like I would be, if you really want the deal, like I would waive financing contingency. So there's the option on the contract where this is cash mortgage allowed.
Yes.
So they still got to allow you access to do the appraisal. They still know that a lender is happening. But if it falls apart, the deal, hey, you're still on the hook to buy the deal. And if you have 45 days, even if that lender who's completely botches it, like you have enough time to find another lender.
Yep. Short of you screwing something up in your own personal finances.
Yeah, you losing there's risk there, right? There's you losing your job, there's whatever. But on like a residential deal, like a 2 to 4 unit, your earnest money's $5,000. Like, I'm not saying that's nothing, but like to get that building that's going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, like the risk reward is there to, if you're confident with your lender, to waive that and say, listen, like you don't got to worry about financing. We get through attorney review, this deal is closing, or you're taking my earnest money. So I think that's a big one that people don't play a lot. And again, there's risk there. I'm not saying just go out and be crazy, but if you got a good relationship, you got a good W-2, if it's you and your wife and you both qualify individually, you're hedged right there, right? And if it all doesn't fall apart, there is private lending. There's people like Renault that will step in at the 11th hour and bail you out too. Like there's a lot of options there. So.
The other big one, I think, if you either if you are a licensed realtor where you might have right to the commission for an on-market deal, you could always waive your right to that commission as well too.
100%.
And that was something I used. I used to basically call up the listing agent and say, "Will you represent me?" A lot of times they said no, and they make me sign something and say I represent myself, but I waive a commission. But bam, now either that money goes to the bottom line seller, or more than likely the listing broker gets a double commission. So it's not, ethically, that's their problem to deal with.
Yeah.
But it also makes you look more attractive when they don't have to pay out a co-op or deal with another broker technically.
Well, it's a big deal. Like you're buying, an $800,000 2 to 4 unit building, like 2.5% on that is 16, 20, somewhere between 16 and 20K, right? Like, so it's a big difference for them if you're able to waive that.
Yeah, because I've seen it too, where the listing broker will go back to the seller and say, "Listen, I'll even take a discounted amount of the total that would be my share as well too, if you take this deal for 5,000 less or whatever." So then the highest.
But now right there on the 8.0 on the first page, you can just say like seller not paying a commission.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Like, so it's very black and white now and very easy for them to comprehend.
Yep, that's one of the biggest things with that regulation change of around compensation is that becomes so much more easily to negotiate without crossing any blurred lines.
Yeah. So again, none of this is bulletproof, right? Like it's still competitive out there. You're still going to probably lose. You should be losing more deals than you win. That means you're out there and you're active. But like these are just little tidbits that might help just get that last one over the hump.
Well, I think another big one too is working with if you are being represented by a broker, working with somebody that knows the network. They know the other people. They've done hundreds of deals where they're more than likely they've done a deal with the person that's listing it. They know someone in the office. They know something because, we've all been in transactions where both brokers know each other. The attorneys know each other. Like everyone knows each other. That deal is so much easier than the new agent on the listing side that doesn't really know what he's doing. The buyer agent, maybe they don't know what they're doing. They're trying to lean on the attorneys who they're fighting each other. Like it could be the same exact terms of a deal. It could go night and day difference based on who knows who in a deal. And that's just networking.
100%. And also add to that too, like, let's say you're direct with seller. Anytime you can show like referrals of like, yep, we did the same thing before. Hey, put yourself in the seller's shoes. Let's say, mom's 80 years old and passes away. Now kid gets the house. The kid doesn't live in town. He's in Florida. He has no idea, like, is this guy a scumbag trying to rip me off? Is this the fair price? Should I go to market? If you can go to him and be like, if you go to market, these are the comps. This is what I can pay. You just lay it out. Like it's going to be less, but you have your money tomorrow. So like now he has a baseline. He knows He knows exactly what discount he's paying. It's not ambiguous. He knows that. And then just be like, hey, listen, like, here's 4 people to call. Like, same exact situation. And he calls someone like, yeah, my parents passed away. He took care of it, blah, 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 did everything set. Like, when you have that, then all of a sudden, like, okay, because put yourself in that guy's shoes. Like, all you're trying to do is not get screwed. Yeah. Right. And you have no idea who the other guy on the phone is. Like, how can you just prove that, like, hey, like, I'm a real person compared to other people out there?
Yeah. And one other final thing I'll tap on is just being able to work with the same people over and over again. You build that trust. There's wholesalers I've bought 3-4 properties from. They know more than likely that those went smooth, and more likely the 5th property, the 6th property, the 7th property, I'm going to close. They're going to go smooth. I'm not going to be 3 days late for my wire, like all those things. So just having repetitive relationships with people that are doing volume helps as well too. They might get you approved paying $5,000 less than the next person who they never worked with, just because they want the deal to close.
Yep. Yeah, certainly. So, all right, Chicago Fact. Who are we playing for? Who is sponsoring?
All right. Today we are playing for Jennifer Wilson. So Jennifer, if myself gets this question right, you'll get a $50 gift card brought to you by today's sponsor, 𝗬𝘃𝗲 Associates, which they are a sponsor around tax appeal, which is super important, which we got to talk about more on upcoming episodes.
Yep. All right. So shout out, Peter Rodriguez brought us a deal. We're closing on an S Street. And I was thinking about, man, we've done a decent amount of work on different S Streets in Chicago. So my question to you is, name 7 S Streets in the city of Chicago. You got this.
Sangamon, Saginaw, South Shore,
there's a few downtown. There's a few
St. Louis,
Seawalker. There's another Saint down in Pullman on the south side.
St. Lawrence.
A few downtown, a few by Wrigley, a few up by me.
It's funny. This is probably a really easy question if it wasn't time pressured.
Oh, yeah.
It said St. Louis.
Right field behind Wrigley Field.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, man.
Don't tell me. How many more I got? 2 more?
Sure.
You said 7?
Yeah.
I did 5 so far.
There's
How many are there total?
Like 40.
Yeah, there's got to be. Like, this is why it's killing me right now.
Come on. You're better than this. I'm going to put you out of your misery soon.
Give me some tips or hints.
East West Street, next quarter past Ashland.
Sacramento?
No, but yes. I'm going between Racine and Ashland.
Racine and Ashland.
Major quarter.
Oh, Southport.
That's
7.
All right, there you go. Perfect.
Give me some more. What are they?
Some. Let's see. There's some obvious ones. Sheridan.
Oh yeah.
Downtown, you got State Street. You got Superior.
State Street.
Spalding. Stony Island on the south side. I thought you would get that one.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, it's a time pressure.
Somerdale, Somerset.
I wouldn't have got those.
Those are northwest side. Sheffield was the one behind Wrigley.
Oh yeah.
Up by me, you got Sunnyside, and on the far northwest side, you got Schreiber, Schubert, Seminary, Seminole, Shakespeare. Shake on that one.
We got a handful over there.
Summit, St. George, St. Clair. Some of these are pretty obscure. Somerset.
St. Clair, we got property on
South Shore Drive.
I said that one.
Okay. South Wacker. I would have given
counted?
I would have given you South Wacker.
Oh man. I would have taken it probably.
Sayre. That's one out by me.
Sayre, yeah, we got stuff on Sayre.
Yeah, okay. Come on. All right, we got it.
I got 7. Jennifer Wilson did get a $50 gift card brought to you by today's sponsor, 𝗬𝘃𝗲 Associates, who can help any of you listeners with tax appeal in any of the counties. So, listeners, you might have watched this on YouTube. You might have listened to iTunes. You might have listened to this on Spotify. Please take this, share it with a friend. This is a super valuable episode. I'm sure you know someone that's looking to buy a property. Share this episode with them. Share the entire podcast with them, and we appreciate it. Tom, thank you. Listeners, we'll see you Thursday.
Thanks all.